Hi everyone, in this video we will see exception handling exercise. I think there are totally 9 questioners. We will see the first question now. So every syntax error is an exception, but every exception cannot be a syntax error. Justify the statement, right? Exception is generally error, but syntax error is related to the syntax. How to justify? You can justify with an example. Okay, I have an example here. Okay, I'm going to Python sample.py. Okay, now there is a syntax error. What is the error? I have discussed the same program in the previous video. This is like a converting an integer to a float or to a string, like that. Here there is a missing parenthesis, right? There are two opening parentheses, but there is only one, so one is missing. This type of error is a syntax error. This is also, now for example, there is a runtime errors. For example, value error. Now I say test, right? I close this error, so no syntax error. Now I save this. Now I rerun this. Now we get value error because I am trying to convert a string to a float, which doesn't make any sense. So this is an exception. So previous one also exception, this one also exception. Previous one is a syntax error. So one type of exception. Then we can have value division by 0. There are many exceptions, right? So with this example, you can justify the statement. Now we move on to the second question. When are the following built-in exercise? Give example to import error. Those of you watch my previous video, I think in the exception handling part 1, I have discussed about these errors. Anyhow, I'll discuss now also. So they ask about, give an example for this. Okay. Now first we move on to the import error. I remove this. Now what is the import error? When a Python interpreter is unable to import a particular name or a code with your code, right? Now for example, I take this code, okay, I create a new file, I save this file as a parent, right? Now I create another file, okay, then in the child I save this as a child.py, okay. Right. Now this is a function in Python, right? It is going to print child here, alright. Now I am trying to import from child. Child means this child.py, import test child, right? I am trying to open test child, but there is no test child function here. We have a function called test underscore child. Now I run this code, okay, then I say python dot, now I say parent.py. Now we get this import error. What is this import error? Now it is trying to import test child function, which does not exist in this. So it is asking you whether you want test child, okay. So this type of examples are unable to import. In this case, how to fix this? You can specify underscore, then you can save this, then run this one. Now child is printed. A child is printed from this texture. Okay, this is the first example. Now second one is IO error. Okay, what is the IO error? I close this. I keep this one. when you are trying to open a file that does not exist, input output error. For example, I save this, I clear this one, okay, then I run this one, python sample.py, file not found error. So there is no such file. When you are trying to open a file which does not exist, then that type of error is because there is normally Python will search for a, because I am in this directory, current directory, right? There is no such a file, it will throw that error. Okay, this is a second type of error, IO error. Now third one is a name error. What is a name error? Okay, now name error is attempt to use a variable. This one is a very simple error. Okay, I give an input 1, it gives name error. What is this error? Now this is my input variable, right? I get the input, I store in, I am trying to print this value, so y is missing. So there is a change in the variable name, okay? It should be y to avoid this error, right? So this type of errors is called name error. Then the last one is zero division error, okay? What is the zero division error? When you are trying to divide a number by 0, here num1 is 0, 10, and num2 is 0. When you are dividing, so normally we get division by 0 error. Let's save this. Then you can say 0 division error. Okay, this is the fourth type of error. So you can using this um, you can provide example. So I have provided everything in the GitHub repo. I will provide the link in the description below. You can use that to download the code I have used here. Okay, now we go on to the question 3. What is the use of a raise statement? Write a code to accept two numbers and display a quotient. Appropriate exception should be raised if user enter the second number. Okay, that is a denominator is 0. What is a raise statement? Okay, for that there is an answer here. Python raise a keyword. There is a keyword called raise. You used to raise a exception or error. If you want to raise the error or exception, we use this keyword. The raise keyword raise an error and stop the control flow of the program. This is the theory part. Then we move on to the coding part for this one. Right. Now we go here. This is the code here. Okay. Now in this code, I save this first. I get the input, enter the numerator, right? Because normally numerator is an integer, so I convert the to a int, then I store it in a variable called numerator. Similarly for the denominator, right? If I check denominator is 0, okay? If 0, then I raise a exception, raise a value error. Then you pass the what is the custom error message you want to pass. So suppose I pass 0, I enter 0 here, this will raise this error. Then this is part where it will handle that exception value error. Then it will print E, that is E is you can't divide by 0. Okay, suppose I enter a valid value in a valid numerator and a denominator, then this condition will fail. Then it will divide and print the result. Let me see the I clear this, then I run this code. Okay, I enter 34, then I enter 0, then it says error here, right? What is the error? That is passed here from here to here, then you can't divide by 0, right? This is one thing. Now I enter 6, I enter 2, then it gives the result, right? The result is 3.0. So this is an example they've asked you. So we see this example. Now we move on to the next one. Question 4. Use the assert statement in question number 3 to test the division expression in the program. Okay. Now we are going to use the assert statement. Okay. This is the same thing but using the assert. Okay. Same code. The only change here is I use check if condition. Now assert statement, I have discussed this in the part 2 of the exception handling, that is the previous video. There this is a check, it will check the condition. If this condition is true, the line is going to execute, otherwise it is going to stop the. So now how to raise this? Now I say except assertion error, right? If there is some error, then I can say, so the control will be passed here, then I can say you can't divide by a 0. So same thing, you want to use assert statement, right? Now I save this code. Now I run this. Then I say numerator 34, then 0. You can't, so control will come here. It is equal to 0. Then it will raise this exception assertion error. Then it will do this. Now test for positive case. So I say 8, then I say 4, then I write 2.0, right? So this is the using the assertion statement, right? Now we move on to the question number 5. Now 5 and 6 is theory part. I think you can learn from your textbook. Now I move on to the question number 7. This one is a programmatic one. Now we see this example here. Okay. Now what is this means? Okay, this is what they have not provided, this one. So same thing, we get the input for first number and the second number, then they convert to an integer, then they are dividing it, then they are getting the quotient, then they are printing the value. Now this one is you need to fill up the except after this part and this part and all. Before the colon you need to fill up. So normally please enter only numbers. This type of error is built-in error. We've seen many errors like this. I think 11 errors in my first video. So what type of error is value error? So if this is a, then we say value error. Okay. Now if there is any value error, if you want enter some other character, then this will be handling that type of errors, right? Now for example, numerator in my denominator in the second number I entered 0. So we should not divide a number by a 0. In that case I want to raise number 2 should not be. So what type of error should be this? This one is, we say 0 division error. Okay. Then this will be handle those errors. Now else is nothing there. Then they have provided here. Now here you say finally. You need to fill this. This is a 3 things. So you need to say value error and 0 division error, then finally. So finally will be executed whether there is a error or not a error, because else part will be executed if there is no error, but final will be executed all the time. So the purpose is like to closing or clean up the memory, those kind of operations we do this. Now we try this code. Okay, now I enter test for the, instead of number I say test. Now it says please enter only one number. So this part is handle this error, handle that error, then job over, get some rest. Okay, so that means the final part is get executed. Okay, now I provide a numerator denominator by 0. I say 34. Now I say 0. Now number 2 should be 0, which is 0 division error, right? Now I provide the positive example, that is I say 4, then I 2. Then great, you are a good programmer. That means the else part, when there is no error, this is going to fire. Then final, always this final part is going to be executed. Okay, so this is the how you need to fill this. Now we move on to the next one, question number 8. So you have learned how to use math module in class 11, right? Write a code where you use a wrong number of argument for a method, square root or power. Okay, use the exception handling process to catch the value error exception. Okay, now we see this is the question number 8. Now this one is a library, Python library, which will import, because we are using a math function here, we need to import that all those functions, right? Now 2 to the, this is a power function, POW, right? Math.pow. 2 to the power of 2 is 4. 2 to the power of 3 is 8. So the normal expect argument is 2. You need to give 2 argument for this, right? Now it is not going to throw a value error, it is going to use a type error, right? Now if there is any mismatch, suppose I pass 3 parameter, this will raise a error, right? Same thing here, square root of 81 is 9, right? Same thing, square root of 64 is 8, right? So this function is going to square root function, it expects only one argument. Now instead of 1 I pass 2, right? Then this is also, then it is going to raise the error, otherwise it is going to print the result. Now we save this one, I save this, Control S, then I press Python sample.py and it says error has occurred. Okay, something like this. Now I give a correct argument, right? Here also I say 64. It prints 8 because 2 to the power of 3 is also 8, as well as square root of 6 is also 8. Now we change this to 81. Let's see what is the result. So we get 8 and a 9, right? Square root of 81 is 9. Then we move on to the next one. What is the use of finally class? Use the final class belong. So finally class, you know what is the use. I already discussed this finally class. Anyhow, I will tell you once again. Then I will wind up the session. Okay, the final class is normally to close the file, clean up the memory. So we use this in the try catch block, right? So this is the purpose. Okay, so please subscribe to my channel, please share this video, and I mentioned the GitHub repository below. You can download this code. Thank you.